Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us with the quality control with Dem Checker and Type Swapper. My name is David Gear. I'm a senior technical specialist with ATG USA. A little bit about me. I've been working in the AEC industry for over 27 years as a designer in various architectural and engineer firms. I've also was a virtual design and construction coordinator for a general contractor. I specialize in Revit, Navisworks, AutoCAD, and much, much more. So on our agenda today, we're going to basically try to conform, make sure our clients and our designers and architects and engineers are using Revit and conforming to our company standards. So how we're going to do that is through the CTC tools Dem Checker. We're going to go through its interface and show you how to correct some of the deficiencies. And then we're going to show you how to use the type swapper and additionally take different line styles, text styles, dimension styles, and duplicate families and put them over to the correct location. With that said, let's go fix that model. Yes, we can. So I have my model here that been working on, and I want to do some QA QC and make sure my design team is working to our standards. The first one I'm going to go over is Type Swapper. So let me go ahead and launch the Type Swapper. And as you see here, here is Type Swapper. If I come over to the TS, you'll see your different options, help and about. If I go to options, it's basically my option is to remember the size and position of the window anytime I close out of it. You'll see the various different tabs up here for duplicate families, dimension styles, text types, line styles, line patterns, fill patterns, and materials. And don't worry, yes, I'm going to go, I know I tabbed through those fairly fast, but we're going to go through each one of those. So if I come over here to duplicate families here, you'll see that it's found all these duplicate families. It's telling me what categories they are, and the CTC tool is trying to figure out, hey, I see this as the main thing. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to go ahead and swap out. I could say no change. I want to leave the two separate ones available. And I'm going to go ahead and say, change it to the call out head. Down here at the bottom, I can tell it to delete the duplicate families. That way it gets rid of a lot of these elements that are taking up space in my model. I'm going to go ahead and hit swap. And yes, please go delete those. And I don't know what it is about these particular families right here. I've got some issues. I've actually got a ticket with CTC to figure out why it's not moving these rest over. But the nice thing is once I get all those swapped, I can go in manually into my families and remove them. And so now that's out of my selection. Now, I'm going to come over to dimension styles because this is probably more important than the duplicate families. You know, making sure people are using your styles, your dimensions, or you're getting a consultant's file and they're going out. So one thing I didn't show you on the duplicate families is this approve tab. So everywhere you see this check mark means that is our company standard, and as long as it's on those items, we will approve those and let them go. So one of the easiest ways to do this is come over to the count and go ahead and click on that a couple times so that it cycles through the greater or lesser value. And I can see right now someone has created a 332nd aerial that isn't my company standard, and they have 8 items that are on that. Well, over here, I can hit swap to and then go find and pull down that particular text style dimension style that should be. Now, if I know that I've got repeat offenders, they're always doing this, they're always going in and creating their own dimension style, and it's always this dimension style, right? I can come over here to where it says save selection, and I can save this out as a selection set that it will automatically move over these particular items. And so if I were to come out and come back in, I could load that set and it will automatically set the swap from no change to linear 330 seconds aerial. Now I'm going to close out of here for just a second because no, I don't want to save the project just yet. That one looks good. That one looks good. Trying to remember which one I changed over. Well, in that case, I'm going to go ahead and add another one here. So we can quickly see, hey, these are not to our company standard, right? If I come into the type swapper here and I go back to that dimension style, I can see how it's reverted back to no change. I can hit load selected, load that type, and it's automatically set to that item. I'm going to go ahead and hit swap. It went ahead and swapped all 9. And now you can visually see that the text went from a Times New Roman to our standard Arial font that we're supposed to be using in our firm. So I want to go back to the CTC tools here. I'm going to go back to the type swapper. So that's just for dimensions. Same thing I can do for text styles. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes we get these files in and, you know, I can see here real quickly that these notes are not correct. They're not on the correct style. They're italicized, got some different things going. The leader arrows are not correct. So I'm going to use my type swapper here. I'm going to go to my text styles here. And I'm going to go see which ones are on here. So I see some here. And let's see here. All right. Ah, there it is. That's what I was looking for, not the way my company does it. So I'm going to come over here and say, okay, well, just because you don't like our font doesn't mean it shouldn't be the correct one. And I'm going to go ahead and swap that out. So now it's the correct text. It's the correct leaders. Can't do much about the text not being uppercase other than coming in and swapping it out using the standardized Revit tool. And I think I may put that in a wish list for the type swapper for future. So that's a quick way to do that. But you're seeing some of all these other ones here. And that right there is, I don't know about you, but I've, got people that may come in and take old AutoCAD details, or they may go out to a manufacturer site and grab a CAD detail and bring it in. Well, then they may come in and explode it because they want to change some information about it. Well, when I do that, it's bringing in that AutoCAD residual data here, and it's assigning it to basically whatever that view was that they brought in. So that's where the type swapper will really come in handy here, is I can come in to our text styles here, and I see that 330, the Arial 35. So I'm going to switch that over to Arial 332nd. Going to do the same thing here. And you know what? I'm just going to select all these and change them all to 332nd Arial. Oop, I did not mean to change that to an 1/8 inch. I wanted that to be 3/32. Now that I have those assigned, oops, missed a few here. Again, stop going to 1/8. I want you to be 3/32. I'm going to swap all those out. Now the thing is, as I swapped all those out, you'll notice the count is at 0. I can come in and select these and use this delete tool and remove those from my Revit project, and those text styles no longer exist. Everything now in here is on the appropriate one. May not be the appropriate size for this detail. This detail may have needed to jump up or down in size, but now that we've got it to true Revit fonts and it's our company fonts, we can go in and set the style in as well. I'm going to come over here to this one here, and I'm going to do the same thing real quick. I'm going to come in and swap out all these. That is the curb terminal. So I'm going to come find the curb terminal items here. So I've got 38 that probably need to be 3/32, one that probably needs to be 1/4, and 3 that need to be an 1/8 inch. Once I've got those, I'm going to swap those out and then get rid of those textiles. So that way they don't accidentally use them. They're going with our company standard. I come in, I can see I'm having issues, and that is because that text or that detail view, that drafting view needs to be set to the appropriate scale, which it is 1.5 inches equals a foot. Once I did that, text works great. Well, the problem is here too, I've got some fill patterns here. And I also have some line work here that is not on the appropriate line type. So I'm going to come over to my type swapper again, and I'm going to come over to the line styles. And I'm going to go search by the count and see I have all these different ones that are in here. So I can see I've got these unnamed and I've got over 2,000 on it. That's great. I've got these annotation dims. Well, I'm going to go ahead and set those to thin lines. I got an A section pin 3. So if I know my company standards from old AutoCADs, that may be a medium line style. If it's an old detail that we used to use in the past, same thing with pin number 1. Maybe it's thin lines, and a pin number 4 was wide lines. Any annotation notes, I'm going to go ahead and say it's thin lines. R1, we'll do thin, and R2, we will do medium. Our annotation titles, I'm going to go ahead and set as wide. Our pin number 5, I'm going to set as wide. And so if you know these are from your old legacy AutoCAD settings, why not save that selection set? Line styles to be fixed, right? That way, every time I get a project and I want to double check it, I've got those settings, and then all I have to do is come over here, load it, hit type swap. It puts those in there. Now all I have to do, I'm going to do it, sort it by name here, and double check and make sure I didn't accidentally leave those, and remove those from my project. Now I'm cleaning up my project. Same thing with line patterns. If you have objects on a line pattern, see that import dash dot, right? We need to go ahead and change it to a dash dot Revit style. I'm going to go ahead and swap that over so that it's on the appropriate line pattern. And then the fill patterns. So in here, I've got these fill patterns right here. Now, the problem is there's really not a good preview in here for these. So what I have to do is close out of the type swapper, come over here and see what terminal, what fill pattern is, and it says it's curb terminal 5. So I'm going to take a note on this real quick. So CT5 is concrete. CT9 is earth. CT7 is earth. CT8 is gravel, and CT6 is vertical lines. So now that I kind of know what they're graphically representing, I'm actually going to come in here and show you that it actually has a curb terminal 5 model fill pattern, right? And that was pulled from the AutoCAD file. So I'm going to come in and go use my type swapper here. I'm going to go to my fill patterns, and I'm going to go, okay, CT5 we said was concrete, so I'm going to go ahead and set that to concrete. We said CT6 was vertical, so I'm just hitting the first letter in the name of the pattern to get down there quicker. And I'm going to come over here to CT7. We said that was earth. And we said CT8 was gravel, but I will tell you right now that I don't have a gravel style loaded. So I'm just going to change that to sand for the time being. And we said CT9 was earth as well. Now that I have those, it's going to go ahead and swap those out. The only thing that the type swapper will not do, and again, I'm going to put that in as a feature request, is it comes in and renames the fill region pattern. But if I go in and hit edit, you'll actually now notice that it is pulling up the Revit fill pattern associated with what we have set in our model. That way we're getting our company standards. They're coming out at the scale we want them to when we import our AutoCAD fill patterns, right? That way now it is now in our company standards. It's using the line types we want, the line patterns, the text that is set up, and now we can continue on. And when we share our models with our consultants, they don't see all this residual AutoCAD stuff, and everything is matching our company standards. Last but not least on the type swapper is the materials. Again, any rendered materials that you have in here, if you need to change them out because, hey, we don't use precast 1, we only use concrete precast, right? Again, I'm just hitting C to get down to the first one, and I'm going to go ahead and swap those materials out, and it's telling me I've got an error. I've got to go figure out why that it is. And are there any questions? If there are any questions, I meant to say at the beginning, there is a question and answer portion. So if you'll use that versus the chat, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in there and I will try to answer them. All right, so I'm going to move from the type swapper over to the Dem Checker unless there's any questions. I'll give it a minute here. All right, feel like I need to play the Jeopardy theme, but with that said, I'm going to say that the Jeopardy theme is over, and let's go to the Dem Checker because that's what you came here to see. Additionally, with the type swapper, so just like the type swapper, the Dem Checker gives me the ability to go find elements that are not meeting company standards. I don't know how many times I've gone in and worked with our clients and as a consultant, and they're trying to take BIM and make it and Revit and make it like AutoCAD. They're trying to fudge the elements in there. And everybody probably knows that, you know, hey, if I do the replace text and put a period at the end of it or somewhere like that, it may just come up as a spec in the prints, right? I can override the text. But we know is in our industry, that's not what we want to do. We want to model it as it's being built. That way we don't get those RFIs from the field that say, hey, this is not coming out correctly. These numbers don't match, right? So what the Dem Checker allows me to do is go through, I can either say use actual value or replaced with text. I'm going to go through each one of these because this is the very first two are is an and feature, and the next one is a or feature. So I'm going to come in here and say dimension value here, and I'm going to hit search. And so what it's going to do is it's going to go through my model and search for all the dimensions that are using the actual value, or if there's any issue with those items. Now, the one thing I know for this is, yes, it is taking a little bit of time. It's reading your entire model, right? So be patient as it's going through and doing this. If it comes back blank, it just means that one of the criteria that you have checked in the fields to the group on the right, or excuse me, the group on the left, are not in play. So it found all the dimensions, and it's telling me where these dimensions are located as far as the view they are. That's why the dimension checker took so long. Now, I don't have dimensions on every single thing of this project, but I do have a good chunk. So the larger, the more. Oh, look, hey, I've got something right here that says text below it that says typical. Well, I'm going to click on the replace value text, and I'm going to go up to the top here and see it's not coming up with anything. Now, if I come in and tell replace with text and hit search, again, it's going to take a little bit of time here. But as it goes through, you will be able to see that I can see who has replaced text and what have they replaced it with. All right, so now that I've done that, I should be able to see, hey, I've got some dimensions here that they have overridden the actual dimension from 5'5" to 3'10". Yeah, that is not going to work out in the field. So I'm going to click on it and hit show. And I'm going to move this over to my other screen here so that I can, get in here and then I'm going to tell it to select that. The reason why it's doing show is it's, hey, okay, there's the dimension because it's a dimension stringer. So I'm going to hit select, it selects it. There's those ones with the periods that they went in, and then I would actually have to come in here and tell it that it's the actual value, right? But if you notice, there's one in here that is showing with no period. Somehow, some way, someone figured out how to override the text and not have it have any additional marks. So I need to make sure that they've gone through, that I've gone through and fixed those. Actual value, replace value. So somehow, some way they fixed that. I'm going to say replace with actual value, actual value, actual value, right? And last but not least, actual value. Now, if I rerun this report, it's probably going to come up either blank or it's just going to give me all the dimensions. But I should be able to search replace with text value, and it should come up with nothing. All right, so there's my report. I'm going to hit the replace text value, and as you can see, as I'm moving it up and moving it down, I am not seeing anything that's been replaced. Now I'm going to come over to my text fields, say, hey, I want you to go search. Are there any values that have been placed? If it has EQ, I'm not really worried about it. Or if I have, TYP, right? I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And again, this is going to take a little bit, so be patient. Because trust me, I would hate to have to do this individually and go look through all different views and all different locations for dimensions to figure out who has overridden what and have they put in some things that don't meet our company standards. All right, so I'm showing that I have at least two that are coming up, one that's saying finish face to finish face, and one that has a plus/minus. Well, I can go and say, hey, that's okay. Let me go look and see what it is. It says, okay, there's the plus and minus. I click on it. There's that finish face to finish face. I might want to say, hey, you really need to come in instead of saying above, you might want to put it below the items there. So, what I can do now is save a report of this. I'm just going to save it to my desktop here real quick. Yep, replace that. And so here I can then kind of send this out to my team and say, hey guys, I think this really needs to be below. Looking at it, it's not jiving very well, not very readable. I'm okay with the pluses and minuses. Let's kind of just move along with that. But I could have also done that same report earlier with the replace text and kind of have had a little heart to heart and say, okay, now this is not how we do business in our firm. I'm going to take the typical out and hit search again because I know I've seen that earlier. And we'll let that process here again. All right, so now I'm seeing the typical below and various things of this nature. So with the dimension checker, that allows us to go in and just QA/QC this, make sure our project is going to be correct and be right. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it's telling me, hey, let me go ahead and select that one. There's the dimension stringer that has our typical underneath it. So we know everything is matching our company standards. Everything's reading right. We're good to go. And I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And with that, I'm going to see if anyone has any questions about the type swapper or the dimension checker. If you would, please put those in the Q&A portion of the Zoom meeting. All right, so the question is how do we set up the type swapper to know the standards you're trying to match? That's a great question. I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. So the way we go in and set the type swapper up is what I do is I would come in and no, I'm not going to save changes there. I'm going to use my template as a BIM manager. I'm going to come in and use my company template. I'm going to come into the type swapper itself here. And when you see here, it's reading what is in this particular template, right? So I don't have an 1/8 inch aerial, but I need it. So I want to come in and create that text style. And make sure I actually set it an 1/8 inch. So, and I don't have to have that text there. Now I can go back into the type swapper. I can see that 1/8 inch, it shouldn't have had a check, but I know why it had a check. If it does not have a check in here, this is where you go in and set that it's been approved. So that's what you're going in and setting it. And I'm hoping that answered your question there. All right, I'll give it a few more minutes and see if there's any more questions here. Oh yes, you're quite welcome. All right, I see we're losing more and more people, and I want to one thing I want to thank you for joining today, but two, please subscribe to the ATG social media through LinkedIn and YouTube. This video will be posted up on YouTube later. So if you have fellow coworkers that couldn't make it to this webinar, please send them here and let them enjoy this knowledge. And thank you and have a great ATG day.